All right, so even if you are done with this problem, go ahead and tap your markers and listen up. All right? So as I was walking around, I was pretty proud of these kids. They did really well in my room, but this answer isn't quite right. And I heard somebody say it. They said that answer can be simplified. 8 and 6 both have a common factor. Okay, so oftentimes I'm just going to write an S next to something like that, which means simplify, doesn't it? And then you just need to find out the factor those two numbers have in common. The greatest factor they have in common is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that is a better answer. And so when you're looking at your corrected or graded papers, you're going to see that sometimes it just says an S there. So the S means your answer is pretty well right, but you need to find the factors that that fraction has in common and simplify that fraction. Okay? Questions about that? Does it sound like I'm going to ask everybody to correct and return their papers? Yeah. If you have below a 6 or below, I would recommend doing some error analysis, thinking about your mistakes, correcting them, and returning them. Okay? And some of you, I wrote on your paper that you have to redo your work. Okay, that means correct and redo. Jason. Jason asked, do I deduct points for not simplifying? Yes, if it happens quite often. Rebecca. Do some of the problems up here on this board today need to be simplified? Oh, yes. Some of them will need to be simplified. Okay, let's do our next question. Let's see if I can find the next button. Oh, yeah, it did say check answer, but I'm not doing that. Will it let me go to the next one without checking? Okay, here's your next one. It says 4 and 5/8 plus 2 and 5/6. 4 and 5/8 plus 2 and 5/6. Where's the paper that should be in there? You need to come up and get one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start for us here. 4 and 5/8. Then you have 2 and 5/6. And we're adding again. Okay. Right here, I see an 8 and I see a 6. And if I think about an 8, I know 8, 16, 24. Boom. 24 is the number that I would like to get to. 24, 8, and 6 both have in common. And so why did I write 25? Well, we all know why. I have not had my coffee. Okay. So 8 times what gets me to 24? 8 times 3. So I have to multiply that fraction by 3 over 3. 6 times what number gets me to 24? 4. Awesome. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. And when I add now the numerators together, I get 35 over 24. 4 plus 2 is 6. I'm done.
No, you're not.
Okay. Remember when I'm on unmuted, I don't need you guys to answer me, okay? That loudly, all right? Because that's all they hear in other classrooms is you guys telling me the answer. Okay, so a lot of times I'll be saying that, then I just want maybe a quiet no, okay? So if I have 35/24, that means I have a hole in there. I have one whole set of 24/24 I have to take out. And when I do that, I end up with 11 remainder, right? 11/24 as my remainder. So that means I have to then add that.
Mrs. Sullivan, could you call the office, please?
1 and 11/24 to my final result, and I get, I don't need this fraction anymore. I get 7 and 11/24. Did anybody else get that?
No.
A few of us did. Good. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, on this one, we had to take and do the same thing that we did on yesterday's assignment. When we got finished adding, if we had a bigger numerator in the top than we did in the bottom, we had to fix that. Okay, so if you have this answer and you've decided that's your final result, and Mrs. Franzen checks your work, and she goes like this, and then she writes this by it, you suppose your answer is pretty darn close and you just need to take care of one step?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I try to do that on all of them that I recognize, but sometimes I just mark it wrong. Okay. And I'm going to tell you one thing. My answer key was wrong on one of the questions that you did on the assignment for yesterday, which was, I think, number 3, question number 3. That answer key was wrong for that one. It should have been 5 2/9, and my key said something else. So some of you actually got one marked wrong that wasn't really wrong. Okay, let's clear our boards and try one more. This one says 3 1/4 plus 6 4/6. Okay, when I look at this problem, I look at and I see that I have a 6 and a 4 for my denominators. So I pick my bigger number and I start thinking, okay, 4 doesn't go into 6, but does 6 times 2 equals 12? Does 4 go into 12? Yeah. 24 would have worked, 36 would have worked, a bunch of numbers would have worked. But the first one that works is that number 12. So either way, you're going to get it right. Some you'll have to do just a little more simplifying. Okay. So how did I know I wanted to multiply 1/4 times 3/3? Well, in order to turn the 4 into a 12 with multiplication, I have to multiply it by 3. Same thing with 6. 6 has to be multiplied by 2 to get to 12. Okay. So 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12. Now I can add those numerators, the top numbers, And this time I do not get an improper fraction. So I don't have to worry about finding that whole number and adding it in. I can just add my 3 and a 6 and I am done. And I think that's a good answer. Okay, did anybody else get that answer? Good. Am I going too fast?
No.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so that being that, we're going to just keep your whiteboards. I'm going to open today's assignment. And, oh shoot, it's not up here. Okay, let me look for it here. I'm just gonna open it. Here, that's why, because I keep leaving them in draft. Edit, okay, it's there, so all I have to do is assign. Okay, so why didn't I, oh, I haven't opened it yet. Oh. Okay, here we go. So, I believe on this assignment, we're going to be dealing with all subtracting because do you remember sometimes when you're subtracting problems and you're just dealing with regular straight subtracting and we're not allowed to use integers, right? If you have a smaller number subtracted from a larger number, you're not allowed to do that. You know what I mean? So we're going to be breaking fractions apart today so that we can borrow, okay? Because that's what we do when we have a subtraction problem with a number that's too small to subtract, is we do what's called regrouping or borrowing, okay? So if we look at that first example, it says what mixed number and improper fractions are represented by these models. So you have a whole, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 7 equal pieces. Is 1 and 4 sevenths the same as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the same as 12 sevenths? You just took that whole and you broke it up into 7 equal pieces, didn't you? So that you had the same number. So I will write that down. Here's one whole, and this next rectangle represents 4 shaded out of the 7, right? This set of rectangles, these 2 rectangles, are the same amount, aren't they? But it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7. So didn't we just do the same thing as multiply 7 times 1 plus 4? We just made an improper fraction. In other words, we took that whole and we chopped it up into 7 equal pieces. So we're going to be doing a lot of that today. Yeah. Is it, am I counting wrong? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I am counting wrong. Okay. Here's my little friend up front raising his hand to tell me I flubbed up again. So is it 4 sevenths still? Yeah. 1 and 4 sevenths.
Miss Francie needs some coffee.
I do. So what would it be? Thank you. Beauty. The thing I like about this worksheet is the first few questions, I don't have to worry about finding common denominators. So let's start there. Let's start with number 2. I'm going to give you guys some time to work it out. Number 2 says 5 and 3/10. Subtract away from it 2 and 5/10. Just give it a try without any instruction. I want to see how you do. No, I want them to keep working on their dry erase board for a couple minutes. Mm-hmm. I've got a variety of answers coming up. So I have a variety of answers coming up. I'm gonna write fairly large, kind of over the top of everything. I apologize. 5 3/10 minus 2 5/10. Here's what I'm talking about here. If I have $3 in the bank, can I take $5 out? Can I take $5 away? Nope, no banker's gonna let you do that unless you want to fill out loan papers. So what I need to do is I need to borrow from the whole number, the 5, okay? I am going to call him, instead of calling him 5, I'm going to call him 4. I'm taking one whole away. And then I'm going to add the fraction 10/10 here. Why? Because that means the same as 1, doesn't it? And if I add that together, I get 13/10. Okay, so all I did was took a whole number away from the 5, changed him to a 4, and then that whole number that I took away became this number right here. And I'm adding. Remember, this is different than multiplying because I'm borrowing and I need to add the 10/10. I'm not making an equivalent fraction. I'm adding a whole to the fraction that's already there. Okay, so 4 and 13/10 minus 2 5/10. 13 take away 5. Everybody?
8.
Keep the same denominator. 4 take away 2. Okay, and then when I simplify, I get 2, and both numbers are divisible by 2, so I'm going to do that.
4.
I lied, it's 4/5, yeah. I say a 2, I write a 2. That's how that works. Okay. All right. See how that works?
Yeah.
So the only step we didn't have to do in this problem was finding the common denominators. Those were already common denominators. So the deal here is we've got layers upon layers upon layers of math type problems that we're going to be working on. Okay? So some of you are going to breeze right through this, some of us not so much. And that's okay. We're going to have to just really put our thinking brains on. All right, number 5. I have 8. The whole number 8, subtract 3 and 4/9. What happens there? Well, to borrow from a whole number, I just have to call it a 7. And then what do I pick for a fraction?
10/10.
I don't pick 10/10. I want to pick 9/9 because right here I already have a denominator of 9 and I don't want to monkey around finding common denominators. So is 9 big enough to take 4 away?
Yes.
Yes, and then I get 5, 9, 7 minus 3 is 4. Okay? I like it when my first number in the subtraction problem doesn't have a fraction with it. If it's a whole number, you get to pick the fraction you need. The fraction that we'll need for this one is going to be 13, right? Because the denominator started as a 13. Okay? So we're going to go ahead now and cap our markers. Set them aside for now. And let's get the papers passed out that are going to be worked on for tomorrow's homework. Oh, I got it. I'm still unmuted. Shh. So my kids probably understand this meme. Okay. All right.
Yeah, make sure.
All right.
Ritz cracker.
Okay, so here's what we've got here. This is an 80s tune back in the day that we used to listen to. See how fancy they're all dressed? This is the band named Taco, and he's singing the song Putting on the Ritz. You see the name there? Anyways, so here's, okay, sorry I interrupted our math lesson for something stupid from the 80s. Okay, so now you have your math papers out. What was the answer to number 2?
X everything out.
Okay, 2 4/10? 2 4/5? Okay, that was the answer to number 2. Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, I didn't X everything out. Are you guys still there on the meet?
Yeah, that would be.
It says I'm here. Screen's yeah. Okay, so we have a smart board screen and I'm ready to start. Okay, so on number 2, well, let's start back with number 1. Remember I wrote that was 1 4/7 as the fraction, the mixed number, and then 11/7 for the other one, right? So make sure you write that in there for me. Okay, and that's for number 1. And we decided that number 2's answer was what? People are saying 2 4/5. I don't remember. Okay, and then we did number 5. I think it was 4 5/9. Yeah. Okay, we've got those done. So let's skip to number 6. Right, nice and small so you can put all your work there, right? So 17 is going to be called 16 13/13. Okay, we totally don't even want that to be called 17 anymore. We want to call it 16 13/13. Take away 15 5/13. Now on that one, do we need to borrow? If we have $13 in the bank, will the banker let us take $5 out?
Yeah.
Yes. So we do not need to change anything because 13 is large enough to subtract 5 from. And when we do that, I think we get 8. And then 16 take away 15 is 1. Okay. Okay. Can I simplify 8/13?
No.
Any further? I cannot because 13 is prime. Neither of them are factors of one another. Okay? So copy that, copy this, minus the arrows. We don't necessarily need the arrows.
Bye.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and erase because everybody's looking at that. All right. The next one I want to do with you guys in class actually is this one, number 9. Okay. 13 and 2, they don't have any common factors, so we just have to multiply them together to get our common denominator. So let's do that. So up here, I have to multiply by 2 halves. Down here, I'm multiplying by the opposite denominator, 13 13. And so now I have 8 over 26 is my new number, my equivalent fraction to 4/13. And now I have 13 26. Okay. Is the banker going to let me take $8 out if I only have 13 in the bank?
Yes.
I said that backwards, didn't I?
Yeah.
If I have $8 in the bank, is the banker going to let me take $13 out?
No.
So what do I do? Yes.
You cross off the 8
Yep, he told me to cross off my 8,
and
okay,
add 10 to the 8.
and then add 10 to the 8.
Yeah. Which is 8.
Why would I add 10? I'm not sure I would want to add 10. I would want to add a fraction. Okay, I have a whole to deal with, right? The only whole I can add to this that still means 1 is 26/26. Okay, that's the only whole I can pick to add to that because I have this denominator I'm dealing with. And remember, we got to keep those same denominators. So instead of adding 10, let's do that. What is 8 and 26? I want to say it's somewhere around 34 or 32 or somewhere in there.
34.
This gets pretty involved, doesn't it? Now, if I have $34 in the bank, will the banker let me take $13 out?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 34 minus 13.
21.
Am I done? I am, because over here, our whole numbers, 7 minus 7, actually equals nothing, right? So we're done. Okay? Can 26 be divided by anything that 21 can be divided by?
No.
No, they have a 7 and a 3 and a 21, and 26 is even and then has 13 as a factor. So those two numbers cannot be simplified any further. Okay? We're going to turn our papers over. And we're going to read through the question number 20 once everybody's done writing the work down for that question number 9. And since there are so many more steps with this kind of subtracting mixed numbers and having to rename, you could probably use a second piece of paper to show all your work for this. Okay? If you don't have to because you write nice and small, like I saw some beautiful papers last night. When I was grading papers, I was like, this is a work of art. There was 3 or 4 of them that just looked like great. Anyways, all right, number 20. You volunteered to work 12 and a third hours at the hospital. You have already worked 7 and 5/6 hours. How much more time do you need to work? Are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? Subtracting. The whole theme of this page is subtracting and needing to borrow, right? So on that question, you're going to end up subtracting 12 and a third from 7 5/6, and you will need to borrow from that 12. Okay? Number 21. Leroy collects baseball cards. There are 25 different sets that he wants to collect. So far, he has collected 18 and 4/13 of those sets. How many more sets does he want? So do we have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? Subtract. Yes. 25, take away 8 and 4/13. Remember, when you have a whole number, then you get to pick the fraction that you turn the borrowed number into, and those are the easiest ones to do. All right, the last one, finally, I bet it's a subtraction problem.
Yep.
A trip to your friend's house is 15 1/3 miles. You have already traveled 8 4/5 miles. How much farther do you have to go to get to your friend's house? Well, we're going to just do some subtraction there, and we will need to borrow, right? You're going to look at the directions at the top of this page for 14 through 19, and it kind of sounds a little weird, but let's think it through. Tell whether you need to name or rename the whole part and the fraction part in the first mixed number to subtract. So looking at 14 and 3/10, 4 and 3/10 minus 2 and 5/10, are we going to need to rename the 3/10? Are we going to need to borrow from the 4 is what they mean? Yes, and then just solve the problem, okay? So on number 15, are we going to need to rename? Obviously, right? Because it doesn't have a fraction part, so we have to rename because it doesn't have a fraction. Number 16, yes or no? Okay, are we sure? Okay. Yeah, but we don't have common denominators yet, so you can't even ask that question about the bank. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to either write yes, you needed to rename, or no, you didn't need to rename, and then solve those problems. Okay, that's what they mean at the very top of that page. Okay, so hopefully some of them you don't have to rename, so that they'll be just straightforward subtracting mixed number problems. Okay, is anybody feeling a little freaked out by all of this? A little bit? Okay, practice makes perfect. Dipping your toe in the water, trying them out is the best thing for you guys and girls. Okay, so I'm going to give you the remainder of this class period to work. And like I said, if you need a second sheet of paper to work out your problems, please make sure you attach it to this worksheet. Ethan. I have not finished the pixel art problem for this one. My Google Docs sheet is ready for it, but I'm still kind of working through the different struggles that you have when you have to learn how to do a new thing like coding and stuff. And I had a bunch of grading last night to do instead. So again, I'm going to reiterate this. If you have a poor score on any of your previous homework assignments from this week, take those papers and you need to do those redos as extra credit. Okay. If you've got great scores, try to at least get that first pixel art activity done because that's worth how many extra credit points? 10. 10 extra credit points can be a half of a grade point. Okay. You could turn an 84 into a like ding near an A. All right. If you have an 86, 10 points might even bring you up to into the A range. So literally a half a grade point that you can change by getting 10 extra credit points. And hopefully by this evening, I'll have the second pixel art activity that goes with Tuesday's homework assignment. I'll have that one working the right way, and you'll be able to do that one as well. Okay, and that's another 10 points of extra credit. Yes. The pixel art is in the live class, or is in the, not live class, the color group classes. Okay, those pixel art activities are attached as an assignment in those live, not live, but color group activities. We go to the live every day in class. You want to go to the color group ones to do that. And Ethan, I think you got that first one done, but there was a glitch on number 2. Yep. And the glitch was that I didn't round to the nearest thousandths on that one. I only rounded to the nearest hundredth. So that's what I did wrong on that one. And I fixed it on my original document in Google Docs sheets, but I don't know if it changes across the board for everybody's when I make a change on the original document. What? Yeah, no, you'll still get the 10 extra credit points. Yeah, you got as much as you could do without the glitch there. So, all right. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and we'll see you soon. Putin on the rinse. Okay, Am I now out of that live class?
Nope. You're not.
Back to where
Did you close the tab?
that closed. All tabs.
No. Is it still open in Google?
Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah, no, I'm still in the meet. Okay, so we're good. Let's do this.
No, you need some coffee.